Welcome to Borderline Brilliant, the podcast where we talk about the messy, the meaningful, and everything in between.
I'm Mandeep.
And I'm Rashi. We're siblings, polar opposites in some ways and way too alike in others.
This first episode is a special one. We're starting with the story of the time Rashi disinvited me from Christmas.
Yeah, it happened. And it's one of those moments that force us to take a hard look at how we communicate, what family really means, and how we can love each other better even when we don't agree.
We're not here to be perfect, we're here to be real.
So let's get into it.
So, that sucked.
Yeah. I mean, it sucked for me too. It wasn't like a good feeling, but it was, I felt like it was a necessary thing to do at the time to like reset what was going on with us. Which I, felt like it was hard. Like that is like the time for family, especially because like my kids were really young then, and then trying to explain to them, why you're not coming or whatever. I felt bad, but I also felt like if we didn't kind of take a break at that point, it was just going to get worse. And I really felt like the issue was is I wasn't sure what like version of you I was going to get, and then also was I going to be able to handle that version of you during such a stressful time, with it being the holidays as it is.
So, I, of course, was only thinking of myself. And then when it happened, I was just like, there's no way this really just happened. Like, you're really going to disinvite me from Christmas? Because you gave me some like lame thing. It was kind of like, hey, so yeah, I'm not really sure what we're doing. We're gonna be kind of going there, so I'll let you know type of thing. Because it wasn't like, hey, you suck, you're not invited. It was kind of like this wishy-washy type thing. So it took me a minute to process, like, wait, oh my God, I seriously just like, I'm not gonna have Christmas with them? And I was going through my own stuff, which is why, again, we had so much of this static, right? Because like I was over there in Texas, I was kind of trying to find my own meaning, my own path, and I was really lost. You know what I mean? And I was in a new place with new people, and I was like looking for that, getting to be with you guys, my family, my everything. The kids, we all know I have an incredible
Yeah.
relationship with them, and so it was just like it was it's my calm in the storm type of thing from everything I was going through. But then the other side of that, of course, was that I was being a jerk because I was going through it on my end. And, sometimes we take family for granted. Not that I'm perfect or you're perfect, but still, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I know I contributed my side of what made that an awkward situation and an uncomfortable situation for you as well. But again, that's just kind of taking family for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like that, it's going to be okay, it's going to be fine. And, it's Christmas. You let all that stuff sit aside and you get together for Christmas. So that was like a huge blindside for me for sure. But obviously now, after the fact, I can
Yeah.
sit back and realize my contributions to that. But at the time, I was just like, you suck so hard. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
you're talking about the kids, I was also like, I can't believe you're going to deny the kids time with me. I'm amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's like same. You're saying you felt, you were like thinking about yourself, but I was thinking about myself. And as I think as a mom, it's really hard. I think it's been one of like the biggest shifts I've had to make in going from being like a daughter and a sister to being a wife and a mom, because it's just a totally different like transformation of who you are. And then you're putting different people's priorities before the people who you've always been putting their priorities for, for the 20 whatever 6 years before I got married. And you feel guilty because you're like, okay, is it okay for me to prioritize these things? But I think I'd finally gotten to a point where I was just like, I have to, because one, I also didn't want the kids to see us fighting, right? Like I
Yeah,
always want,
understandable.
I mean, like we have this, I have the same thing, older daughter, younger, son. So I want them to always see that, not that we're never going to fight, but I really felt like we'd never, as adults, been in that kind of a dynamic where we didn't get along. And so I did not want them to see that, because I want them to always be able to try to find resolution. But now it's really good because I can talk to them about how that actually happened. And this is how it made us stronger and a better, like,
And I love how they're flabbergasted by that.
yes,
They're like, there's no way you actually did
yeah.
that.
Yeah, they were like, no, that could not have possibly happened. And I'm like, yeah, it did. It totally
Because
did
we're
happen.
amazing, let's be
Yes.
honest.
Yeah.
We do have
Yes.
an incredible relationship
Yes.
because of things like this,
Yes.
where we do set those limits, where we do say, hey,
Yeah.
check yourself. We need to have this conversation.
Yeah, and I love that. And I remember, we didn't talk for a while after that, which was super hard, especially for me because, as I label myself, I am the fixer in all of my relationships. I want to resolve issues and move on, but I've also had to learn that that's not always necessarily the healthiest way for me or the other person that I'm trying to fix, because sometimes you need that time to process the emotions or whatever's going on, or process the situation to be able to come out from it being stronger. And so that was hard for me to like take that time away and just be like, okay, we're just gonna, kind of like take a beat and just have time to process our own emotions. And then, I loved it because, I can't remember how long after it was you came to Cali, and then we went to breakfast, I think it was. And, you just got right into it. Like,
Yeah. I had my
so,
time. Yeah. Because like for me too, right? Like I needed my time to be like, well, that sucked and she sucks and she's the worst, to like get past that, to be like, well, what did you do, bro? What did you do to also create that? It takes two for good and
yeah,
bad, right?
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I needed that time to just stew and then to get past that, get over myself and, and just be like, well, this is a really important relationship to me.
Yeah.
This is everything to me. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like this is the one thing I value the most. Like my mom and dad, my sister, and then of course your family, your
Yeah.
husband, your children,
Yeah.
everything. It's in my heart. So then again, there's that value for one another, right? There's
Yeah.
not that, because I mean, you know me, I'm cold as ice. I can literally cut everyone
We
and
both
anyone
can.
off. Yeah, we're both. Yeah, we're just like, yeah, done here, and move on and never think about it twice. But then this is something you think about every day. So you need that time to kind of get over yourself, and at the same time understand what you did wrong, and understand that even though you think someone may have done wrong or something like that, it doesn't matter. This person is super important to you. This relationship is incredible and it needs to be preserved. And so work through it, right? It's compromise. And especially me, there's not a lot of people I compromise for
Oh yeah.
or about,
Same.
because yeah, and of course I don't mean to just put it on
Yeah.
myself, but I mean just like, you know what I mean? Life is good, it's fine, you work through things and you get along, but there's not a lot of people I would put that time and effort into. But by God, like if there's anyone, it's you, that
Yeah.
I would make that exception for. I mean, you're head and shoulders above the rest. So yeah, we needed that time. But then yeah, once we were together, it was like, all right, so what's up?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's one of the things that I really love about our family dynamic, as much as it sometimes was not perfect. But I do love the fact that we were taught to hash it out.
Yeah.
Like, just to get your emotions out, to say what you want to say, and then just resolve and like move on. And I think that's why I think we're both fixers in that way. Like, we don't like tension, and
Oh, I hate
so
that. I need
yeah.
peace.
Yeah, same. Because I'm just like, life's too short, man. Like, most of this stuff, you're going to get over it eventually, anyways. And it's just a waste of time to like stay stuck in it. And I think that's why, when we were talking about what do we want to talk about our first episode, this is very like intense. It's like very,
It sucks so hard.
yeah. It was like, yeah, I mean, it was like, I mean, I think it's like the most, like intense situation we've ever had in our relationship, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
because it's been such an incredible one. And
Yeah.
we've given each other a lot of latitude because we're just kind of like, it's him, it's her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is my sibling, this is
Yes.
my everything. We've been taught that from, we say all these things about mom and dad because, yeah, they're crazy, but
Yeah.
they're also incredible. You know what I mean? Like, they taught us a lot of incredible things. And that's like kind of like just a hark back on what you were saying about, dad would always say that to me, you know what I mean? Because I would get upset with how he would address me and things he would do and things of that nature. And he'd just be like, bro, why are you mad?
Yeah.
Are you still mad?
Yeah.
Like, just let it out. Just,
Yeah.
just do what you got to do,
Yeah.
say what you got to say,
Yeah.
and let's go back to being cool.
Yeah.
So, like that was literally programmed into us. And it was difficult for me because I would hold on to things. I'd get all in my feelings and I'd get upset about stuff and, play all these scenarios in my head. And he was just like, what? You're still mad?
Yeah.
Dude, say what you got to say and
Yeah.
let's get past it. We're family. Like, I'm going to see you tomorrow and the next day and every day.
Yeah, I agree.
And
And I think that's what's so important, I think, especially right now going into the holidays. You know, people I feel like are the most polarized just in general, whether it's like with your family or your friends. And I really feel like in anyone's relationship, if you're struggling with like, something happened and you had a disagreement, that you really need to think on what's the bigger picture. Like, what is more important? Like, if you keep thinking about calling that person or you do something and you're reminded of them and you miss them, like that's your heart telling you the truth, right? At the end of the day, yeah, fine. Maybe you don't agree on everything, but like if you keep missing them, like I know I missed you during that time. Like it was hard because I mean, I literally talk to you every day, which is
Legit.
crazy,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's like you are my first true best friend, like it's that you're the person I know I can tell anything to. You're never going to judge me. You're only going to help me through it, and I mean, I have some really good close friends, but it's just a different dynamic because you know me on such a like crazy level, like from your birth. And so it's just so different, and I want people, or I hope people can try to see past some of those things to try to like work on their relationships because they are important. I really feel like the biggest thing that we're losing as a society right now is connection with people. Like, you can like and post and all that stuff, but it's not the same as connecting with a human being.
And that's our thing is like our relationship was legitimately forged in fire. The amount of moving we did, the
Yeah.
amount of just, things that came and went and different environments, different people, different, scenarios. It's like that was the constant. We always had one another for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And we understood that this is my rock. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's why we can relate. That's why I mean, we are the guardians of one another forever.
Yeah.
It's just because we've been through it. We've all had our highs and lows, and we've shared all those experiences together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we forged this relationship. So that's why it's just there's no distrust at all.
Yeah.
Even what happened with this Christmas, it wasn't distrust. It was just kind of like, again, it just we clashed. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it was just like, as you said, you didn't want that clash to spill over with the family and the children because, you were being the mother in that regard. But like for me, again, it was just a whole different scenario because I was kind of outside looking in. And I was like, I was just looking forward to being with my family and the kids because I love them so much but that's the thing. There's no kids without you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it was kind of like, who is she to? Well, it's her mom, so I guess, whatever. You know, I guess because I mean, probably part of me was thinking like, yeah, whatever. We can have our toxic thing, and I just don't really have to deal with it, and we'll just brush it under the rug like
Yeah.
mom and dad like tell us to
Hmm.
do,
Hmm.
and I'll just have a great time with the kids, and I'll go back and we'll have everything unresolved. What's the problem with that?
Yeah.
Clearly, there's a problem with that. But what I also loved is that when we did finally have that conversation, we both knew that we had to have it in person.
Yeah.
This wasn't going to be something that was going to be over the phone
No.
or text. Like, absolutely not. There's a lot of emotion involved, and it was emotional. But I love that we were both empathetic. You know what I mean, to one another. It was like, you had empathy towards me because you understood that it was very hard for me,
Yeah.
that I was already kind of feeling alone and without direction and things like that, and that I was really looking forward to being with my family, and that probably would have helped center me to an extent. But at the same time, it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the
Yeah.
right environment. There was things we had to hash out, and we had that, so it was good. We both apologized to one another. We had a really good talk, and it wasn't like this deep, long, meaningful thing. It was just kind of seeing one another, knowing that we love one another, and knowing that we need to get past this. And
Yes.
that was because of the value we had in one another, and that we wanted to resolve this. And
Absolutely.
that's respecting and loving one another, and knowing that I don't get to be right, you don't get to be right. We need to make this right.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And I love that we did resolve that. Um, and it was incredible, you know what I mean, to just have that, and just how it didn't take a long time, but it did take us being face to face and going
Yeah.
out and doing that, and that was super important.
I agree. And I think that's one thing that I'm really glad that we are close enough in age where we don't differ on that because I definitely don't like the whole like phone calls are fine, texting is whatever, but like when I definitely want to get good news for sure. Like if I can, obviously via a call, but in person, if obviously if you're close enough to the person. But if you're going to resolve something, I definitely think you need to do it in person because so much is lost in the phone, even FaceTime. There's still, it's not the same. And I think it's much harder when you're in the same room as the other person to just like, I don't know, like not,
Dismiss them.
yeah, dismiss them. It's
Yeah.
so much easier to do that. It's so much easier when you can't really look at them in the eye because
You
if,
saw my
yeah,
pain.
yeah, of
You
course.
saw
Yeah.
what it did to me. And I'm not putting this all on
Yeah.
me or
Yeah.
you. What I'm saying is that, like, because that's all I know.
Yeah.
I know my perspective. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I know that you saw how much it hurt me. And it hurt you that I was hurting. Do you know what I mean? Like, and but not that we weren't going to resolve it, but the
Yeah.
point is that's what matters. That's what we know. It also shows how much you love someone when you
Oh,
see
yeah.
how much you mean to them, and because I don't care what your relationship is, your past is, or how you think you know the person. When you see that person, when you see that person that means so much to you in pain, in any sort of pain, you
Yeah.
understand that, okay, this did affect them this way, and we don't want that, but that's why we're here resolving it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so it was important. I agree completely. Like, I first of all, I hate texting.
Yeah.
Like to me, it was just ridiculous. I've always found that strange. That's a newer development.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that like I would literally call and they would just text me back, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah. Just
You
answer
know
the
what I
phone,
mean?
bro.
So you're there, you don't want to pick up the phone because that to you is awkward.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think for like this is just to everyone out there who likes texting, just instead at least leave a voice note. I really think that at least again you get to connect with the person's voice if nothing else, if you're really just against having a phone conversation. But hey, I mean, I don't know, go out on a whim and just try having a phone call with someone because it's probably going to be really good. You just, I don't know, I just find that really crazy that people
There's
are
so much
so
that's
averse to it.
conveyed by
Yes.
someone's
Yeah.
voice, whether it
Yeah.
be the tone or just, the inferences they make, whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's way better. Nothing beats face to face, but
Yeah.
understandably that can't always be
Yeah,
the case.
exactly.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
For us in that moment, yeah, we needed that reset, and
Yeah.
then it was like, let's get into it. But text is terrible because it's so disconnected.
Yeah.
You don't have any understanding of what that person's going through or what they're trying to convey to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across.
No. No.
And it's so easy to detach yourself and just
Yeah.
stay in your little bubble of, no, these are my
Well, because you're reading
things.
it in your head, right? And it
Yeah.
always comes out differently than the way the person intended it to be. No matter what, you can put all the emojis in there. It's still not the same thing. It's still not going to be conveyed like if you're speaking to the person, which is why I like at least voice memos because then you can at least
That
hear
is
the
your
person's
thing.
voice.
Your thing is the voice memos.
It
Mom
is.
loved it. You sent that
I
voice
know.
memo. She was like, so incredible to hear your voice.
I know. I tried to send her a video on how to send them back, but it's a hit or miss. She did send it to Brait, so that was fine.
Well,
But
you'll see them at Christmas and you can
yeah,
help her out through
yeah,
some things.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that was kind of like when I was studying abroad and they asked me, how to use their new iPhones because they finally got up on that. And I was like, I have no idea. I have an Android.
Yeah.
And their instructions were very clear. You need to buy an iPhone, learn how to use it, and teach us how to use it. That's simple. And I was like, you're brilliant. Well, I guess we'll go with that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
much easier now with all the tools that we have to help the parents. Um, but yeah, I wanted to have this conversation because I feel like, especially culturally, like, we're Punjabi and Canadian, and that's where we got the borderline brilliant, and now we're living in the US.
We're American.
We're American, and so have been for a long time, but we definitely have like such a diverse experience, I think, than most people would.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important. And I think growing up, and culturally, you're taught to sweep everything under the rug. Just don't acknowledge things. Don't share your vulnerability
Ever.
because it's like basically like a weapon someone can use
Well, because
against you.
everyone's out to get you, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, of course. Yes,
Literally.
everyone.
Yes.
And which is so crazy to me because, that's not what it's about. I feel like if people would just be more open to sharing their experiences, and I think that's getting more like that.
It
People are getting
absolutely
better,
is.
that it would be so helpful because hiding when you're struggling with something is the worst. It like just makes you feel more lonely.
Listen, I always used to say it honestly, growing up and like, through my teens, my 20s, 30s, I told people like, I'll be your best friend until you break my heart.
Yeah.
And then nothing. Cold as ice. We're
Yeah,
done.
loyalty is
We're
everything.
just
Yeah.
finished and that's all.
Yeah.
But I believe it's worth it. I don't care about whatever little pain because I didn't take it that serious. I mean, I'll literally give everything until again, you stab me in the heart. Then we're done. And
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind because that's the only way I know how to live is live out loud,
Yes.
live out there and put myself. I don't want to live this guarded life. Not only is it fake, it's cumbersome, it's clumsy.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how to pretend and how to be covered and closed.
Yeah.
You never make any meaningful connection. You never can have a really good conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And so what? If someone does stab you, who gives a crap, man? Like if you put yourself out there and with good people and
Oh
you're
yeah.
that, but you're gonna have a lot of really good, solid connections that's literally that person's loss.
You're gonna find your people, right? At the end of the day. And
Exactly.
that's why I've always felt that way. Like even with, friendships and like everything else. It's like the more you put yourself out there, the more you get comfortable putting yourself out there. Yes, there may be some like thing, like you said, that doesn't work out, but in the end, it's so worth finding the good ones. Like
Because
that's worth
those
it.
good
Yeah.
ones will guard you with their life as
Yes.
well. Do you know
Yep,
what I mean? Like
exactly.
they
Yeah.
know your value. And that's how that other person knows they missed out. Whether they know
Yeah.
or not, I don't care. But the point
Yeah.
is, I don't mind. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because there's so many more meaningful connections that can come from doing that. And of course, it's harder when you're younger.
Yeah.
But as you get older, your
You
skin
figure
gets
it out.
thicker. You don't care, and
Yeah.
you're just like, it's fine. What's the big deal? Do you know what I mean? Like it's good to know now. I'd rather know now
Yeah.
than go through life like some wistful idiot and
Yeah.
then be like, oh, this person was bad. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just put myself out there and then get stabbed and be like, all right, good to know, Snake,
Yeah.
and just move it along.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
People that just they literally read magazines on how to dress, how to act, how to be. What a sad life. Like just be you.
Mm-hmm.
Just be yourself, put yourself out there, and whatever quirks you have or whatever you are, you will find your tribe. You will find others like that, and
Yeah.
you will live such a more comfortable, fulfilling life
Oh
by
yeah.
just being yourself.
Yeah, and a more authentic life. Like
Yeah,
that's really what I think everyone,
and that's the easiest thing
yeah,
to
to
do.
do because it's you.
It's you.
You're not pretending.
Yeah,
You're
you're not
not putting on a
pretending.
show.
You don't need to research
Yeah.
how I'm
Yeah.
supposed to react in this way or
Yeah. You
whatever.
don't
You
have
know
to
what I
chat
mean?
GPT it.
Yeah, you just go out there and put yourself out there. So yeah, you're gonna take some L's, but you know what? You're gonna win overall in
Yeah,
the end of the day.
I
So
agree.
that's absolutely the most comfortable thing to do is be in your own skin, live in
Yeah.
it, live out loud in it, and you'll be okay.
Yeah,
You will find that for
I agree.
sure.
So what's something you would tell someone who is having like that kind of disagreement with their sibling or like even their parents? What would you like recommend that they do?
I think number one is obviously take your time to process it, but have some introspective. Like, think what does that person mean to you? What have you guys been through? What do you want to continue that relationship to be? Do you know what I mean? Like, if this person has been there for you, or you want them to be, like, if you want to mend this fence, then get over yourself. Number one, take your time, however long that takes. That's fine. But get over yourself. You know what I mean? Also try to look through their lens because at the end of the day, this is two people. This is a meeting of the minds of feelings, of thoughts, of just boundaries and all those things. You know what I mean? So it's like take that time that you need, but then also try to have that empathy towards the other person. Like they didn't do this to hurt you or violate you or whatever. And if they did, then clearly that's useless to you. But then you should already know that. You know what I mean? And try to think of what you did. And I don't mean it in the way to like, beat yourself up, but as in that'll help you have more empathy towards that person and kind of understand things more as if you kind of also look at both sides of it.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, just I guess it obviously depends on the relationship you have with the person. But like with us, it just I knew how much you mattered to me and how much going forward it meant. So it did take a minute for me to get over my hurt feelings because I was very hurt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, of course, it hurt you and things like that. But that didn't matter. What mattered was how do we get to the next step?
Yeah.
And that was obviously, take your time to process and then face that issue head on, go and tell that person like we did. We
Mhm.
sat down, we had a talk about not only airing our grievances, but also how it made us feel.
Yeah.
We opened our hearts to one another and said, hey, that really hurt, or like, that blindsided me, or like, you know what I mean? I really missed you guys and I don't want that to happen. What can we do
Yeah.
to get past that? You know what I mean? Like, So don't make it worse is number one. You know what I mean? If it
Yeah.
happens, don't just get into some expletive like unhinged whatever. Just I don't know. You're gonna obviously have some reaction like I can't believe you're doing this or this, that, and the other, but try to catch yourself early enough to stop, think, and then when the time is right, when the time is past to heal.
Yeah.
Because don't just don't just put up that wall. Don't just be like, I can't believe this person did that to me. Think about, okay, this person is incredible, and we've always had an incredible, and everybody has their shortfalls. Everybody has, ups and
Yeah.
downs, but like if it matters to you, if you truly love and care about this person and you know that they're a big part of your life and going forward, then eat some humble pie.
Yeah.
See where you also went
Yeah.
wrong and find that resolution because more than likely, probably both people did something a
Yeah.
little
For
wrong. Like
sure.
this, that, and the other. But that's why you need to sit there and talk about it. And not only just, I'm not saying, get walked on. I'm not saying just go there and beg and apologize. Tell them how you felt too. You know what I mean? Make sure that you guys are on the level playing field there. But there's nothing wrong with telling them your feelings and how you felt and everything like that and where you want to be.
Yeah, I agree. No,
And how about
that's
yourself? What's your approach?
um I think, biggest thing is diminishing your ego. I think that so for those of you that don't know me, I am a wellness coach, and my thing is mindset. And so much of what I've learned is letting go of your own ego, of not being afraid. Because I think a lot of when you have disconnection with people, you're afraid that, oh, if I make this first move, this person may not reciprocate, whatever, if I want to apologize, maybe they're not ready, and then I look like a chump, right? And it's so much of that ego. And I think that, be open to, yeah, maybe they're not going to reciprocate it the same way because they may not be ready. And so I've learned that so much through different, relationship dynamics, is that like everyone has to be ready. Both people have to be ready to make it move forward. But it doesn't hurt to send them a message or call them and leave a message saying that, right? Like, hey, I know we're both upset. Let's try to come to the table and find some resolution. I think so much of what people are doing right now is based on fear, whatever that fear is, right? And so it's like fear of the unknown, and like you had said, like, those dialogues, those narratives in your head, right?
Mm,
Like clearing that out. And so one of the things that I've had to do for myself, even when things are not going right in any situation, is I have to stop myself and say, no, you're doing it again. You're doing that, spiraling
yeah,
narrative in your
yeah.
head again.
So easy.
Yeah, it's so
Just
easy
don't
to
do
do
it.
that. But then I literally have had to learn how to stop myself and say, no, this isn't you anymore, and we're not going to do this. Like, it's going to work out. It may not work out in the timeline you want it to, but you really need to, like, if you want it, like you said, if you really want that relationship, it's really important to you, and you want it to happen, then you just have to put your ego and your fears aside and just try to make it work. And, I think for most people, it does move forward, I think. But again, it comes back to that loyalty, right? Like for us, obviously, that's so different. Growing up, there's like no world in which you don't exist in my life. Like that just wouldn't, I couldn't have that. Like that's just a weird, like I could never even fathom that, And so it's I think it's like the top question that people ask me. Like people that have known me, or like people that I'm friends with, but like I don't see very often, or whenever I see them again after they ask me about stuff, they'll always say, "Oh, are you and your brother still really close?" And it's so sweet because I love that, like that's part of who I am. Like
Yeah.
they know that we're close, right? Like we've always had a really good relationship. And so it always makes me happy when people ask about you, to say, "Oh yeah, like are you guys still really close?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, we're still really close because we've made it a choice to stay that way,
Yeah.
right?" And through the different dynamics, through the different life situations, you have to keep choosing. And I think that's the thing that people sometimes are giving up on, is like, well, it's easier to just let it go. But in the end, it's really not. Because if you really love that person, you want them in your life and you miss them, and it keeps coming back. Like I talk about this so much with with other things is like if something keeps coming back to you, there's a reason it's coming back to you, and not in a psychotic way. You know, like the ex that you had, not that, guys. Definitely not talking about that. Sometimes you just
Wow.
gotta let people go.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, as
Let
in
it
like,
burn.
yeah, let it burn. Like that one's is done. There's also that side. But like, if it really comes back to you in a good, positive way, you need to act on it. You got to do something about it, and don't be afraid. Because at the end of the day, there's no one that's going to be like 80 years old and be like, oh man, I really regret that time. I tried to like be nice to this person and they were a jerk to me, right? Like you're not going to remember that anyways, because
Yeah.
that person clearly didn't mean enough to you in the end. But, for the people that do, you are going to, like, I know there's people that get to that point where they didn't talk to their siblings. And you can even hear it, like, even I've heard older people who don't get along with their siblings, when they talk about them, what you hear the most in their voice is the pain and the hurt.
Hmm.
They still feel the pain and the hurt, even though they haven't talked to their sibling maybe for like 10 or 20 or 30 years, which is so sad because you're just like, really, even at this age,
Yeah.
like you're just not gonna try to like mend it. You're not gonna try to move on. Like it's sad. You should try to move on, man. Like it clearly it's important to you because if you keep talking about it, that means it bothers you. It keeps coming up for you.
Yeah.
So it's better just to try to resolve it and, move on from it. So that's what I would
And to
recommend.
get the most out of it, honestly, it's something you have to work on a regular basis, to be
Yes.
quite honest. I mean, we had something incredible to save, but even if you don't have that, you still have a lot to build upon. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You could still have this incredible relationship. So don't just look at it through our lens of like, these guys already had such an incredible whatever, they're such a big part of each other's lives, this, that, and the other. We are that way because we both have so much to offer one another. That trust, that confidence, that, literally the wind beneath each other's wings. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? We inspire one another, we push one another, we confide. It's incredible. So, sibling relationships are fantastic, but you got to work on them and
Yeah.
you have to have trust in one another to tell things to one another. And they're so rewarding. So even if you aren't at this level, it's worth it to try. You can
Yeah.
test the waters. You can do a little bit here and there and try to get to that. It's just that it's just so incredible what we have, and it's awesome, and it's so
Yeah.
fulfilling. It's such a huge part of our lives. And there's really no one else like a sibling in your life. And that's something
No.
our parents told us from the very get-go. And it's something you tell your kids all the time, and I
Yeah.
tell them all the time.
Yeah.
And so, of course, that's why part of it we wanted to guard them from that Christmas and things like that. But that's also why they don't believe it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, there's no way. Like, you guys literally talk to each other every day. What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's
How's that
like,
possible?
yeah, how's it possible? But again, that's having that respect and love for one another, knowing that it's not the right time for it or whatever, as hard as it was at that time. But then we bounced right back,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's incredible. So it's important. So don't just look at it as like, well, you have to have something there to preserve it. Sometimes there's something there to build.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just something, as you said, I think ego is huge. Ego is huge. I mean, in our community, but in any community,
Yeah.
just people. That's why, again, they don't want to share any weakness or anything of that nature. They want to look like they're invincible, like they're just doing great, and everyone else can whatever bow down. I don't know, but if you could
It's
just,
perfection. It's like
yeah,
everything's perfect.
yeah, and then you just shoulder that burden, where it's like, you know, if you had someone else to shoulder that burden with you,
Yeah.
you could get through things. And some things we tell the kids all the time, like, don't hide things, don't hold them in. We're here to help.
Yeah.
Like I was telling them the other day, I said, hey, there's no reason you should ever have to go through life alone. I never did,
Yeah.
so neither should you.
Yeah.
And I think that spoke to me. You know what I mean? He was just like, yeah, that's true. I was like, I always had my family. I always had support.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't think it's just this immediate family. I was like, we got hundreds. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We we have
Yes.
we have a massive amount of support all
Yeah.
around. And that's important. That just lets us do what we do and be who we are. And it it doesn't have to mean every day. With us, it is. It's awesome. It's incredible. We're super fortunate. But there's those that, sometimes we just check in with once in a while. But the love is there. That's there.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that's something I definitely love is the amount of family we have and how incredible it is. And it just makes you feel great. It just makes you feel not alone in this world at all. So
Yeah.
it's pretty solid for sure.
Yeah. I agree. So this is our first episode. We went in real, raw on the first one, but I
Real
think
raw.
that's like a good representation of us and who we are, that we are very forward. We, like you said, we love big, we live big, we don't shy away from things. And I hope, like, for me personally, I wanted to do this with you because I feel like there is so much that people are struggling with. And, I hope they can find some, way forward in some of their relationships. And, hopefully when we share some of our experiences, it can, they can relate to that and, get something of value for themselves or, share it with somebody else. And I hope that we can continue to connect with people. That's what I really want this to be about, is taking our own connection and like sharing that with the world. And if you guys, I mean, you don't know this about us, but otherwise we're extremely private people. we
Very much so.
which has, I think, been the biggest struggle of why we didn't want to do this, because in life we like to be extremely private. We don't like sharing outside of our family. We don't like really sharing much. Even social media and stuff, that was hard. And so I think that has definitely been like kind of our barrier to entry, is that we had to really be like, okay, we're going to put ourselves out there, and not in a way that like we're uncomfortable with ourselves, but just that we just really value our privacy a lot.
Yeah,
And so,
there's
yeah.
no level of discomfort. It's simply that we've always just we're more than happy to live out loud,
Yeah.
but within our own atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this whole social media, this,
Yeah.
that, and the other. Of course, it's incredible,
Yeah.
but it was a bit foreign
Yeah.
to start with. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
just didn't really make that much sense to us because it was just like we like more, as we've said, face to face, private
Yeah.
connections. You know, just as comfortable in an entire ballroom versus a
Yeah.
sitting room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like this whole extension of going digital is a little different for us. And my only problem with fortune and fame is the fame. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'd love to just go unrecognized and live a
Yes.
comfortable life.
Yes.
But you know what? This isn't just about the fame. This is truly about sharing.
Yeah.
I think this is a time when a lot of people could use that, could use
Yeah.
those connections,
Yeah.
could use that. I don't know, just understanding that it's okay to just put yourself out there and
Yeah.
be who you are,
Yeah.
and don't let the world push and tug you into some sort of a mold or trying to be another cookie cutter image of something like that. Like my whole life have always, tried to shield people from bullies or expose them to being who they are and being okay with that and
Yeah.
accepting people for who they are. And I feel like this will be an extension of that, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? Just be who you are, enjoy yourself, and that's why we're going to share our the funny things we've been through and just how clumsily we've gone through life at times, and where it's gotten us. And it's
Yeah.
just to kind of have fun with it.
Yeah.
So that's all. We just want you guys to hang out, enjoy,
Yeah.
and we like to have a good time for sure.
Yeah.
And this one was definitely one that we were like, all right, let's just dive in.
Yeah.
Actually, Rashi was like, let's do this one. I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, why not? Like, I'm like, because you suck. Like, this is kind of raw. She's like, I know, but that's why it's great.
Yes.
And I don't think she sucks. Like, I'm just saying, like, like it's just that's the first thing that clicks when we think about this, because it was a tough one. But hey, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
We like to dive right in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a lot of fun we're gonna have, and we hope you guys join us for the journey and just tune in and enjoy yourself, just like you're sitting down on a good conversation.
Yeah.
Definitely give us feedback if there's any things that you've struggled with, or things that like us to shine a light on, or
Yeah. We would
get
love that.
our perspective on
Yeah.
anything. And we're not going to cater to one thing or the other. We're just going to tell you that whatever it is, honestly, we've probably been through it, because we've been through a lot. We've lived all over the world,
Yeah.
both of us. We've been through a lot of different things and scenarios, and we've made a lot of mistakes, and um learn from them,
Yeah.
and just try to keep it real. And that's all we're doing. We just want to share and have a good time with everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, and hopefully this, you know, helps and heals and entertains, honestly, because I mean, we're fun to be around.
We
So
really are. We're very magnetic.
yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah. No, no big deal, guys. No big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. But you're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This is just us getting over our barrier
Yeah.
and sharing with you guys, but you're going to love tuning in. You're going to have a lot of laughs, a lot of good times, and you can totally relate to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you can't, well, then I don't know what to tell you. We have a good time. You know what I mean?